Exciting times over at the Comic Book Chair. Yeah, we're back with another Comic Book Chair. We are entering day one of week of Witchblade. As you can see, we have some new art made by Kota, my co-host on More Than Audio, and former shittier version of that show, Just Audio. I like it. It gives this educational space that I want these books to have. Yeah, Witchblade Rebirth, Volume 1. Let's get into it. Synopsis! One literal lifetime ago, Sarah Pizzini was a homicide detective in New York, and the top of her class. In this life, she's a PI in Chicago, trying to make ends meet. But one thing has never changed. It is her duty to maintain the balance between good and evil. She is the Witchblade, and something is under Chicago. Something evil, and it wants out. And if two supernatural gangs continue their bullshit, it just might. Characters. Sarah Pizzini. Unlike other versions of her, this particular version of Sarah is a more vulnerable one, where Sarah just kind of keeps her feelings on her sleeves, keeps the truth to her chest. This one's a bit down and out, and I honestly don't blame her. I mean, she had a promising career in New York City. Now she's living paycheck to paycheck as a private eye. She's not very good at it, by the way. And she feels like she's getting older. Despite the fact that, thanks to the magic of comic books, she'll be scrumptious forever. But, midlife crisis. It hits us all at some point. She feels impotent. She feels not useful. And then this big fucking thing comes along, and she has to deal with it, and it kind of pushes her back into her mindset. She's much more dedicated to being the Witchblade in this series, as opposed to just wanting to be Sarah Pizzini but doing Witchblade shit on the side. It's a big change for her, and I like it. Kane is her love interest, and is also a magician. Sarah has sunk low in life. Kane actually is a very interesting character. While he is a stage magician, he comes from a long line of actual mages and wizards and stuff, yet he has no magical powers of his own. Which totally fits with Sarah, as they are both characters who feel impotent in this part in their lives. Kane serves a being called Grandfather. He's ambiguous and evil, literally sits under the stage being ambiguous, and eats magic. So that's Grandfather, and that's Kane. They're neat. They do get better as the series goes along. When you introduce him at front, Kane just kind of shows up as like a nice slab of dick for Sarah to ride on, but it turns out he's more, which is pretty good for that character. Jane is one of my favorite characters in this comic. She's a Chicago Polish cop, don't you know? Just a big stereotype, big and sounds friendly, but she's a total bitch. And I love her. She razzes Sarah for doing work that the police think she does. She's very proud. Jane's very proud of her job. Once Jane learns that magic is real, her and Sarah become closer. But at the time, in volume 1 of this book, she's just she's kind of like a nuisance. She's the bit of the real world that is fucking with Sarah, while she has all this other magic stuff she's dealing with. I like Jane. She definitely does more, and it goes on. If we get to our antagonists of this particular book, we have the Flesh, who are these people who drink from a literal fountain of youth, and it reverts them back to the age in which they felt the most happy. The main guy, they're all old people. They drink this, they get the fountain of youth, with the caveat that they grow meat spines out of their bodies and they have to feed on the life of others. They choose to kill the criminals in their neighborhood, which has really made the place a lot nicer. But ends justifying the means, all that shit. Yeah, no, they are creepy motherfuckers. Oh yeah, back on the guy who leads the Flesh. He was this old guy, now he's a child. He feels more comfortable as a child, whereas everyone else feels more comfortable as them in their prime, back when they were just scrumptious as all hell. I'm gonna say that word a lot throughout the week of Witchblade. And then we have our other antagonists, the Brunhildas, sexy biker witches. Yeah, Witchblade. Anyway, I really like these characters, whereas the Flesh represents a perversion of the Witchblade, the Brunhildas represent a perversion of the darkness. And I also find this is really cool, because the darkness, while it represents the ultimate evil in the universe, it mostly associates itself with men. So having women take on what has been a dominantly male role in the Witchblade comics. Even though it's a very negative connotation, I do like that. They use magic from the earth. They live in this area that's polluted with dark magic, and they smear it all over their naked bodies so they can get stuff. They worship goddesses, they're eco-terrorists, and they are not good people. But then again, the darkness chose them, so they were always shitty. What do I like about Witchblade Rebirth? Volume 1. The trades function as full graphic novels, with cute little letters entries in the middle, with cute little letter entries in each book that expand the universe. They're very nice, they're very helpful, they're enjoyable to read. It's kind of like a low-rent Watchmen. Another like about it is Tim Seeley. Holy shit, dude. Like, Tim Seeley's always been a great writer, and he's always been great at writing sexy girl stories without them coming off as just complete dreck and cheesecake bait. Like, he's a talented man. Tim Seeley is the type of writer that gets Witchblade. He gets that the sexy urban fantasy setting is a part of its world, but he elevates it. He treats that as part of the world, not as the main draw of it. I mean, there's sexy shit in it, but it's not the main focus. We focus on Sarah's life. We focus on Cain's life. We focus on Jane's life. We focus on the flesh. We focus on the Brunhildes. Everybody gets a well-written introduction, and we get to know what they are about. And he never talks down to you. He never treats you like shit. It's definitely having your cake and eat it too, writer. I like Tim Seeley on this book. Dislikes. Well, actually, it's going to be a weird dislike. It's going to be a compliment sandwich, if you will. Diego Bernard is the penciler, and therefore, like, the default artist in which everyone works on. Diego Bernard, by the way, fucking stellar artist. His art is incredible, and his attention to the female form is fantastic. However, I just have to say, the plot is set in the winter, and the Brunhildes were assless chaps on motorcycles. They would freeze to their motorcycle. I mean, it's just cheesecake for the sake of cheesecake. Also, naked witches dancing in the cold. I don't care if you are sexually liberated, like, crazy witch bitches. Why would you want to be in the cold? It's fucking cold. They look great though. It's cheesecake for the sake of cheesecake, and that's some damn good cheesecake. I'm just saying, like, if I was one of them, and like, I would be like, nah, you know what? I'm not going outside today. If I want to do naked dance and stuff and worship the goddess, I'm gonna do it inside the tour bus. Fuck that shit. I'm not going out. It's Chicago and it's winter. Fuck that shit. Coming down to my final verdict, I give Witchblade Rebirth Volume 1 a 4 out of 5. So I give it the caveat of it being a must-read. This is a refreshing take on Witchblade. It shows a respect of the older Witchblade comics and respects new and old readers by showing them the ongoing adventures of Sarah Pizzini and does not bombard them with pointless cheesecake. There were only 2 instances of pointless cheesecake. That's really good for Witchblade. This is what I've always wanted with the Witchblade comic. It's a good cop procedural. The magic fits into this urban setting really well. Just weaves itself in, and it's more mature. The majority of Witchblade books I have read have been really good middle school dude books, where it's just like, oh, look at these titties and superheroes. And you know what? A lot of them do that really well. This is Witchblade after it's gone out of college, this is college Witchblade. Just getting to know its own boundaries. Granted, Witchblade will show you a little titty or two. It's mostly about the story. Like, who is Witchblade as a person? What does Witchblade want to do with its life? And Witchblade Rebirth Volume 1 is that, in a nutshell. I love this book. 4 out of 5, must read. Next time on the Comic Book Chair, Witchblade Rebirth Volume 2, Week of Witchblade!